Hello mech warriors! Today I will talk about the Trebuchet 7M. The Trebuchet 7M is a 50-ton medium mech mainly designed as a missile specialist for fire support at long or short range. This variant comes with 3 energy and 3 missile hardpoints. Trebuchets in general are not the most tough mechs, but at the same time they can bring serious firepower for their tonnage, and the ability to use jump jets makes them agile. Also, they have somewhat good arms for shielding their side and center torso when needed. The 7M comes with some very strong missile quirks that makes this mech a formidable missile platform, especially for a 50-ton medium mech. A minus 20% missile cooldown, a plus 10% missile velocity, a plus 100 narc beacon range, a minus 20% missile hit generation, a plus 15 narc and tag duration, a minus 5% LRM-15 cooldown, and some decent extra internal structure. At a first glance, especially if you check the stock build, 7M appears as an LRM specialist. But if you take a closer look, all the important and extremely strong quirks of this mech are generic missile quirks, especially the minus 20% missile hit generation and the minus 20% generic missile cooldown makes this mech a master of all missile types. With all this in mind, I will show you 3 builds that, in my opinion, make good use of this mech. The MissileChef: 1 MRM-40 with 4.5 tons of ammo, 2 SRM-4 with 2 tons of ammo, 2 jump jets, 11 double heatsinks with 1 external. We used an XL engine 270, light ferro and endo steel. With this build, we take full advantage of the minus 20% missile hit quirk, especially with the otherwise very hot combination of the MRM-40 and the SRMs. With this mech, we can safely even alpha strike all our missiles despite of the ghost hit. We throw a big 40 missile salvo from our right torso from long to medium range, and when the fight becomes tighter, we combine the MRMs with a fast-firing SRM-4s for maximum DPS. You can even replace the SRM-4s for 2 MRM-10 for a cheap version of an MRM-60 mech. Again, even with a ghost hit, this mech's crazy missile hit quirk makes it possible to even alpha strike them. LaBrute: 3 Streak SRM-6s with 5 tons of ammo, 1 Beagle active probe, 1 tag, 2 medium lasers, 2 jump jets. We used an XL250, light ferro and endo steel. Also, we have 11 heatsinks with 1 external. With this one, we want to hunt down light and even medium mechs. The Beagle and the tag are mandatory in any streak build in order to counter ECM and lock even shut down targets. This build especially exploits the minus 20% missile cooldown quirk that caused the 3 Streak SRM-6s to fire very fast. Also keep in mind that the IS streaks are already way faster than the clan streaks if you check the cooldowns of the weapons. LaBrute preys on the weak, but don't try to fight head-on heavier fresh opponents with this build. The LRM-Garcon: 2 LRM-15 with 6 tons of ammo, 2 ER medium lasers, 1 tag laser, 3 jump jets, 11 heatsinks in total with 1 external, an XL250. We also used light ferro and endo steel. With this build, we take the traditional role of the Trebuchet 7M using LRMs. With LRM-15s, this mech gets an additional 5% missile cooldown. Unfortunately, we didn't have space for Artemis, so the spread of the missiles is wider, but we rely on the sheer amount of salvos we can throw in order to overwhelm the enemy with LRMs. Jump jets also help us to find locks on our own and don't rely on our team or hide too much. The tag is extremely important for this build as well, in order to counter ECM mechs, and 7M has also a tag duration quirk as well. Also, we placed the two ER mediums for damage amplification at long range and desperate defense measure when the enemy is on our minimum LRM range or we are out of ammo. Variation for this build is to replace the LRM-15s for lower firepower LRM-10s in order to fit a narc and exploit the narc quirk as well. As for the skill tree, for the MissileChef in firepower, the most important nodes are missile rack, missile spread, heat generation and cooldown. In survival, we went for some structure. In mobility, half speed tweak. In sensors, we went for 40% radar deprivation and full seismic, and the extra consumable slot. For the LRM-Garcon and LaBrute, we replaced some hit nodes in order to get full speed tweak. Also, don't forget to get max target decay for the lock weapons. In the MissileChef match, we are in Frozen City. I have my friend Metal Priest in this match with his tanky Vindicator. Our plan is to use his pinpoint damage of his lasers combined with my splash missile damage to brawl down our enemies. Before the fight becomes tight though, I use my jump jets and shoot my 40 damage salvos from 600 meters to support my team from range. MRMs, like all missile weapons, have the same maximum range as their optimal, so don't shoot them when above optimal range. Now we are close to the enemy. It's time to unleash our full DPS. A fairly damaged ATM dog at minimum range stands no chance against our build. By now, you should have noticed the minimum hit that we generate with this mech, using a ghost hit combination of weapons, especially in a cold map like this. We might not have much armor with our Trebuchet compared with other mechs, but with our jump jets and agility, we can dodge some shots.
μάτς λένε. Μπράβο. Έλα να πάμε στο κολομαρότε. Τέλειο. Στο F8 είναι, έχω σάισμα. Ωραία. Ένας είναι. Νάτος. Πώς. Το χέρι του το δεξί να βγάλουμε, έχει γκάους. Τέλειο! Ναι. 1078 damage. 791 έκανα εγώ, με 3 kills και ένα solo.
In LaBrute match, we are in green plexus. Our plan this time is very simple. Find lighter mechs than us and shrink them down with our superior damage per second. Provided with our minus 30% missile cooldown with our quirk and the skill tree.
Destroyed. Target acquired. New target acquired.
Target spotted. New target acquired.
You have to always keep in mind though that streaks are doing damage to every single component of the enemy. So you have to know the tonnage of the enemy and his damage status before engaging with this build.
New target acquired.
25%
Target destroyed.
eliminated.
A blackjack, for example, is a 45-ton medium mech. He's a good target for our streaks.
Fuel at 25%.
We're experiencing some
Target
losses.
destroyed.
Don't get sloppy
Fuel
out
at
there.
25%.
The jump jets of this mech are again very helpful in order to shoot our missiles above obstacles.
Fuel at 25%. Fuel at 0%. Fuel at 25%. New target acquired.
The Mistlings is the lightest clan mech, an ideal target for our brute build.
Target destroyed.
Depleted. Keep pushing.
Acquired.
Lost half our force. Can't lose any more soldiers. detecting no more hostiles. Good job, soldier.
Let's go for the LRM-Garcon build. With this build, we are in Tourmaline Desert, a hot map, but with our strong quirks, if we manage our heat, we can shoot non-stop. Instead of hiding with the rest of the team, we march aggressively in order to find our locks for our missiles.
Target destroyed.
Controlled by the enemy. Theta is controlled by the enemy.
Target acquired.
Confirming possession of Kappa. Target spotted.
Gonna translate the white.
Like streaks, LRMs are very situational weapons in their own way. Instead of light targets, this time you have to find slow, heavy targets that cannot dodge your salvos if they are in the open.
New target acquired.
LRM builds are extremely situational in general. There are maps that they can be very useful, and other situations that they can be completely useless. Since I don't want to turn this into an LRM or anti-LRM rant video, I will stop this here and let you enjoy the rest of the match.
Target destroyed. New target acquired. New target acquired. At 25%. New target acquired. Intertorso critical damage. Target destroyed. New target acquired. At 25%. At 25%. Override engaged. Target destroyed. New target acquired.
50% of their resources. Capture resources and stop the bleeding.
Not like the fragments of armor.
Fuel at 0%.
And these were my thoughts on the Trebuchet 7M.